Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Showcase. My name is Orna Maddock, and I'm the Towards Work Coordinator. And for accessibility, I will be giving a visual description of myself, as will all of our speakers today. So I am a white woman with mid-length brown hair. I wear glasses and I'm wearing a blue top today. Before I introduce the first speaker, I'd like to give some context to this seminar. Towards Work is the central point for people with disabilities in Ireland to access resources and support in their journey towards employment or entrepreneurship. It's funded by Public and the Dormant Accounts Fund, and it was launched on the 23rd of September 2021 by Minister Anne Rabbitte, with 110 people attending. We offer free online training. So far, 65 people have attended these training events, including seminars on building confidence, the job search, sharing your disabilities, your CV, content and creation, interview insights, finance, well-being and management, and mental health, to name some. In total, 256 people have attended the seminars and events so far. These numbers do not reflect the many that have viewed the seminar since. We also offer other supports like the mentorship program, whose goal is to help people with disabilities meet their full potential for further education opportunities, employment or self-employment. The mentors can serve as role models and share experiences while helping to support the mentee on their pathway or further education goals. So far, 45 mentors and mentees have attended training and have been matched. The program continues as we have just completed the mentee and mentor training and are in the process of matching up the mentees and mentors. Alongside this, we additionally have Shadow Day events designed to offer a combination of employment preparation skills, the application process, and employee insider insights from the HR and recruiters of the companies that attend. We complete these events in partnership with NCVI. We held the first Shadow Day events with Circle K on the 31st of March and with An Post on the 1st of June, with 20 and 18 participants attending respectively. Finally, Towards Work aims to increase opportunities for entrepreneurship and self-employment as a possible career option for people with disabilities. There are over 17,000 self-employed people with disabilities that have employees, and over 34,000 self-employed people with disabilities who don't have employees. Entrepreneurship is the backbone of the Irish economy, bringing creative and lateral thinking to the table. To this end, the Self-Employment for People with Disabilities course in TU Dublin commenced in September 2021, sponsored by Public and the Dormant Accounts Funds, with 20 students attending the course. Today, we are delighted to have Tom Cooney from TU Dublin, Christina McDonald, a student on the course, Dennis Doolan, Strategic Head of Inclusion and Diversity in AIB, Niamh Malone, who's also a student of the course, but an entrepreneur in her own right, and Shane Creamer from the Local Enterprise Office speaking for us today. So Tom is here to speak to us about the course and how the initial course has gone. Tom, if you'd like to take it away there.
Yeah, apologies. So thank you very much, Orna, and I'm delighted to be with everyone this morning. Last year's program was a pilot program, and I suppose the positive in the first instance is we had 38 applications. From that, we had 20 places on offer, and that's where we started the program. It was the first of its kind in Ireland, and indeed, in terms of online tailored self-employment programs targeted at people with disabilities. There's very few available internationally. The design of the program was such that it allowed people to develop at a pace and suppose that best suited them, because there was 12 lectures, one each week, and the lectures were of 2-hour duration. The way they were designed was that the first hour was new content around a specific topic. Then there was a guest speaker who was an expert in that particular area, and then who spoke for half an hour. And then the final speaker was a person with a disability who was an entrepreneur and was, so could communicate. This was their experiences, both negative and positive, because we asked people to be real about their experiences. Each lecture was recorded, and that meant that if somebody was unavailable on a particular day for whatever reason, then they could go back and watch the video of that particular lecture anytime that suited them. Also, because each class was recorded, it also meant that if a person had attended the class and maybe didn't kind of follow some of the content or wanted to rewatch a particular entrepreneur or guest speaker, they could do that in their own time and space. So it allowed learning at a pace and at a time, and as I say, at a space that was comfortable for each person. In addition to that, every participant had a business mentor, and the business mentors were supplied through the local enterprise office network. And that was hugely important because it allowed one-to-one business mentoring, I suppose, that a normal third level teaching facility doesn't offer. So again, that was one of the key strengths of the course. The outcomes from it were, we just finished a report on it, and possibly we surveyed everyone afterwards and also did 6 in-depth interviews. And from the course, it looks like we certainly have 4, potentially 6 startups. Now, we made it very clear from the start that starting a business was not, everyone starting a business was not the goal of the program, because the goal of the program was to give people with a business idea the time and, I suppose, the expertise to evaluate whether they could build a sustainable business or not. And building a sustainable business was critical. It's no point just starting a business. Like, anyone can start the business. It's starting one that has long-term potential, that allows you to build a lifestyle venture is what's important. And therefore, we had quite a number of people who realized along the way that while their business idea might have some merit and might have some people with might have some customers, it simply wouldn't have enough customers to build a lifestyle or full sustainable venture. Therefore, therefore the ambition of the course was to help people to evaluate the sustainability of their business idea. And from that, as I say, we've 6 out of 20 potential startups. But I suppose one of the things that came out of the course that surprised us in the feedback was that quite a lot of people said that the course helped develop their self-esteem, that they felt a whole lot more positive about themselves and their skill sets, that even if they never set up a business, they feel they are more employable again, and they feel that they have a contribution to make to the labor market. And a number of people in feedback, and particularly in interviews, talked about going back in search of a job. And that was probably the most heartening thing that we read in the feedback, that people talked about self-esteem being strengthened in quite considerable ways, and that came across almost from everyone, and therefore, I suppose in many ways we count that as one of the huge successes of the course. So look, the outcome is that even if you don't start up the business, and we're not encouraging every participant to start up, that one of the great values of taking the course is developing skill sets, developing self-esteem, and feeling confident about your future. So, those are kind of the main kind of takeaways. I'm happy to take questions if people want further information. Oh, sorry, just one other thing that's important, and that is we use an online tool called Validate, and Validate is like a business model canvas. And so each week, people fill that in online, and I can follow it, and the business mentor can follow it. And, it's a simple way of building a business plan, rather than in the old days when people would wait until the last 2 weeks and then try and cram everything in. No, we work with you on a week-by-week basis, where you answer a series of questions leading to the kind of automatic completion of the business plan. And then the other thing was that at the end of that process, we had a Dragon's Den style event where people pitched to, I wouldn't say potential investors because nobody was investing, but people from different financial backgrounds who could advise on where people could get money given their business idea. So it was quite a holistic package. And as I say, the feedback on the course has been overwhelmingly positive, and we feel really good about this year's iteration, which would start on September. Thank you, Orna.
Thank you so much, Tom, for the information there. Jess is sending me something. Can you deal with that, Jess, if you don't mind?
Sure. We just have one person asking a question, so I'll just say it's Stephen there. I'll just give you the, if you can ask your question now if you'd like.
Thank you. Tom, my name is Stephen, and in fact, I was actually looking at your course online last week. Unfortunately, all the information was for 2021. Is there going to be a continuation of the course in 2022? And just as a personal note, I'm out in Ashburn, so it's a bit far for me to travel. Are the courses online, or do you have to travel to TU Dublin?
Thanks, Stephen. Well, the good news is the website will be updated today, because Dennis will be launching this year's course later. And so all of that information will be updated and will be available very shortly. So that's the first thing. And the closing date for applications is early September, so plenty of time. It's fully online, Stephen. It's fully online. And last year we had participants from Waterford, Cork, Tipperary, Galway, Leitrim, Louth. So the beauty of the online course is that it enables national participation, and it allows us to be much more inclusive. And so the course itself has no travel involved, and makes it very accessible, although we are looking at a final event in possibly in person in Dublin.
Okay,
but certainly the course itself is online.
Okay, thank you for that. And just a quick thing, when we were looking at the website, my jobs support officer and myself, there was no mention of it being online. It just said you had to travel. Yeah,
the new version will make it quite clear. I think the opening line is it's an online course, so it'll be clear with the newer version. But thanks for that, Stephen.
No worries, thank you.
Yeah, and Orna, by the way, sorry, I meant to say earlier, my apologies for being late. I apologize for that. It was actually, I'll be perfectly honest, I got the times mixed up. I thought it was a 10:30 start, and I had it in my diary for 10:30. So I apologize completely for that.
No problem at all, Tom. You came in at the right time, actually, and we were able to readjust. So thank you so much for that. And you get great information there, Tom, about the course. Christina's going to talk to us now and giving us some insight into participating on the course. So when you're ready there, Christina.
Hello, everyone. I joined the course last year and I can't recommend it enough for anyone who's thinking of starting a business. And as Tom said, like, you might not even start a business by the end of it, and it's not really the goal for everyone to start up a massive business or not. But I found it like really helpful and really good. I know, like most people with disabilities, I kind of feel like I found myself becoming disabled overnight. And I went from being a 26-year-old that worked 2 jobs to a 26-year-old with no jobs. And then I know for most people with disabilities, the social welfare side of it, you almost get, if you're on social welfare and you don't have a disability, you're almost hounded to get a job. They send letters for you to, like, are you looking for jobs? But when I feel like when you're disabled or you have a disability, they don't send you anything about jobs or college or anything like that. So I really feel like when I seen this course, I just couldn't believe that, Tom was doing this course for people with disabilities, and like, it almost felt like giving us a chance at becoming entrepreneurs and our own bosses. And so the course is like the one of a kind, because I'd never seen anything like it before, and it's very empowering as well when you're doing the course. As Tom said, each week there's guest speakers, and there's actually other disabled entrepreneurs, that given their experiences. And I found it really empowering because you can actually then visualize, well, okay, they have a disability and they've become business, owners, or they've set up their own small business or big business. And you're thinking, well, if they can do it, so can I. And I felt like the course as well, like, it builds up your confidence because you're hearing like real life stories from other people with disabilities who've gone through the same, maybe not the exact same, but you know what I mean? Like, they've been there where they felt like, oh, they've no job and down, you get quite down about it. And they've literally gone, no, I'm going to do this for me and my life, and I'm setting up a business or whatever. And it was very inspiring seeing that and thinking, well, because it's one thing seeing people who are business owners without a disability, but when you see one that does, you can relate to them and go, oh wow, like, they've done it. I don't know if like, sometimes my speech, I don't know if it's coming across the way I want it to. What else? Oh yeah, the validate thing. I thought when I started the course, I was worried about, I don't know, I was thinking it was going to be a lot harder. Like, I didn't think I'd be able for it, whereas, as Tom said, validate, I found that really simple, and you got really good feedback as well. And you could, instead of like not having a tool that you can use, I don't know, like, before I did this course, I'd be the type of person who'd cram at the last minute or leave everything till the last minute, whereas on validate, you actually, after every session every week, you could fill in a bit if you wanted, that's what I done. And I found it real simple because you didn't have that much work then. You could fill it in every week. It'd only take a few minutes, and you could rewatch the lectures. And, you know, sometimes I had to do that if I forgot, you know, something. It's really good. Yeah, I like, and even the business plan, you do that on Validate, so you don't even realize until the end. You're like, oh my God, I've got my business plan done. Yeah, I just found the course really, really good. Like, it gave me such great confidence. Tom was fantastic, all the guest speakers. I apologize if my my sentences aren't making sense. But yeah, I'd encourage anyone who's thinking of starting a business, or even if you're not, to do the course, because it can open the doors to jobs or, you know, courses. And there's someone there every week, you know, giving you helpful information that you might not get anywhere else, you know. So yeah, I don't know if I can add anything else. I just think the course has given me so much, and I'm at the start up of my own business, and, you know, there's no rush on things. Yeah, I just recommend it 100%.
Brilliant, Christina. That, I mean, you can't get any better than that, than somebody who has just done the course and, you know, give you the insight like that. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Brilliant. Next up, we have Dennis, and Dennis is going to speak to us now.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And I'm Christina. I'm still thinking about everything you just said there. Actually, it's a difficult act to follow. So well done on your explanation of what it was like to be part of the course. And actually, I'm really, really glad that I'm on this call now and that we're getting behind this as AIB, because that's the announcement that Tom talked about. Before I come to that, I was introduced to Tom by Niamh Malone, the CEO of Open Doors. So I just want to acknowledge that, and acknowledge Open Doors and Pobble, who were behind the pilot of the program. Because if you're old enough, you might remember there was a Bruce Springsteen song and one of the lines was, "You can't start a fire without a spark." So I think in this case, in fairness to Open Doors and Pobble, that's what they've done. And now we have a fire. We have something that's useful and that's going to contribute to empowering people with disabilities around Ireland. And I suppose from an AIB perspective, we're trying to pursue inclusion and diversity work that's action and not just words, and support things that have real people involved and drive tangible impact on those individuals and the communities they're part of. So that's why it's so brilliant to hear Stephen's question, to hear Christina talking. And within our inclusion and diversity strategy, then we do have 3 priorities. One is gender balance, one is marginalized youth, and the third is disability. So when I got talking to Tom, you know, between the fact we were looking for tangible action and looking to focus on disability, it was, you know, immediately obvious that we should look at getting behind this program. It took a while, to be honest. It wasn't a straightforward, you know, just whatever, make a decision and sign a check. Doesn't work like that. But we got there in the end, and all I can say is we're really delighted to be involved. And that's the announcement that, you know, there is a cohort starting. It'll be this September, and we are backing the program for not just for the first year coming forward now, but for 3 years actually. So the course will run for the next 3 years, and we're very much looking forward to working with Tom and the team in TU Dublin to, you know, making it sustainable and making a real difference. And having an impact on the lives of people with disability, who, as Christina said, have every much as ability to start a business as anybody else. And I've had the pleasure of meeting Niamh as well, who'll speak soon now. And Niamh has shown that herself. So one of the things I'll say just in finishing then is we are actually also we're not just putting money behind this, we are also going to involve AIB colleagues that have relevant skills and expertise. I think Orna touched on that and Tom touched on that, so that, you know, we can support the course participants and go beyond the financial support. So as I say, look, we're looking forward to actively being involved in the program, seeing the impact it will have. So thank you again to Jan and to Open Doors, and Tom, to you and all at TU Dublin for the opportunity to take part in this.
Fantastic news there, Dennis, that it's going to continue on with AIB's help and support. So it's because it's a great course for everybody to be able to do. Jess, do we have a question at this stage? Do you want to?
We did have a question, but the person that asked it has dropped off the call, so they may but we can address any questions at the end now as they come in, if anyone wants to put in the Q&A or the chat box. So thank you.
Perfect. So next up we'll have Niamh. You ready there, Niamh?
Yes, I am. Yes. So I suppose my story started, needless to say, with COVID-19, as a lot of people's did. So what I did was basically I wrote a book for myself, and basically it was a memoir, and basically it was based on an unusual relationship with my mother. She had a malignant narcissistic personality disorder, and I lived with lifetime social anxiety disorder. So when after I self-published the book, I basically set up a Twitter account, and basically I got a lot of I noticed that a lot of people on Twitter actually were living with lifetime social anxiety disorder. So I started making comments and, you know, tips and things and different things. And basically people got back to me and they said, you know, people emailed me privately and they said, you know, you have a very good insight into social anxiety disorder. Would you not think of like developing a workshop or a webinar or something like this? And that's where my idea kind of started. So I had a background. I have worked as a clinical nurse specialist in my past life. And basically, so I understood about giving talks and setting up workshops. So I said, yes, this is something that I could, you know, do. It's an idea that could form for me. So at the same time, Tom got in touch with me and he said that basically that he was starting this new program for people with disabilities, and would I be interested in applying for it? And he sent me the link and that was it. So I applied, and then I continued to look into the whole thing of the business and the idea. We kind of started building it. And I was looking to see if it was a viable business and a viable product that would sustain me like for years to come. So I did a lot of market research, and I looked into the fact that basically, yes, when basically COVID happened, a lot of people went online, events went online. So 70% of events, I looked at it last week, and it generally 60 to 70% of events are still online. So it's sustainable in some ways. And basically they estimate by 2023 that 800 million money will be spent on webinars or apps in containing education and things like that. And they've gone from being structure led to more like basically the person living with the lived experience. So literally it all added up to me. So anyway, Tom contacted me in September, and they told me that I'd actually got onto the program. And basically, as far as I was concerned, that was it. Like, you know, this was my one opportunity to get my business up and running, and basically to hit the ground running, because this is my aim. You know, I didn't want to live my life the way I was at the moment. You know, it had kept me going, but literally to say money is a big factor, as everyone will know here with disabilities. And I wanted to be able to be self-sufficient and independent and able to live my own life. So every week we got different segments, and I kept on top of those. I made out a planner. I structured myself. I had like weekly kind of plans, and then I had monthly goals. I put them all over the walls and everything like that, and I ticked them off as I went along. And then there was one segment was about the customer segment. And basically I pushed myself out there, and I started talking to psychologists, which were my kind of like daunting. I thought they'd say like, you've no kind of, like I have the background, lived experience, but like and I have a healthcare background, but you never know what people will think. But they were actually very supportive. And once a particular psychologist in Galway, and NUI Galway, said to me that the people living with lifetime social anxiety disorder are the experts in this field. So he said, I would say that some of your coping strategies are actually original, and you'd really want to go and look at those. So around the same time, TU Hothouse came in to talk to us. And basically they said when they talked, that basically that if anyone had thought they had an original idea, that they could contact TU Hothouse, and they would actually look down through the patenting an IP to see if there was anything there, which usually costs a fortune. So I thought, like, this is great, I'll do this. So the psychologist in Galway actually sent me information all to do with research, and basically to do with different articles and things like that that would back up what I was saying. So that was in November 2021. In January 2022, we finished the course, and basically then in March 2022, I became incorporated as a spin-out from TU Hothouse. I also looked into basically finding a hosting site to develop my e-commerce platform, because I've been through kind of trying to set up a business before, and trying to find a technologist is very, very difficult, and trying to find funding. So I wanted something that was self-sufficient. So basically I found a hosting site called LearnWorlds that basically suited my needs. I could actually develop a website myself, an e-commerce platform, with no coding and a white label. So I told TU Hothouse about this, and they funded that for me. It cost me €4,000 for the year. And it got me up and running. So my e-commerce platform launched last week, so that's up and running. As I said, I became incorporated as well with them. And then in May 2022, they contacted me, and they said that my coping strategies for depersonalization were original, and that basically they had patented them for €100,000. And that literally, to me, started me off on a roll, because literally that changed my whole life, my whole way of thinking, and it started things rolling pretty fast. I contacted Open Doors, which is great, because one thing about the course is you can network with people, and you can build up a kind of a good network and a sustainable network of people who will support you in the future. So I contacted Open Doors, and I said, would you know of any testing sites that I could actually beta test my app over the summertime? And yes, they have got back in touch with me, and I've started preliminary working with them to find testing sites of universities in the UK for that. And then Tom contacted me to say that basically they're doing kind of a PR campaign, and they invited me to be part of this, which really will make a huge difference to what I'm doing. And also I can be the voice for people with disabilities to get that out there. And then I contacted Martin Curley you kind of get brazen and you see your opportunities at the end of the day, which you have to do. He's in eHealth, he's the head of innovations and eHealth in Ireland. And I told him what was going on, the fact that I wanted to have the choice to be able to see if my IP was patent or not, and basically that it was. And he contacted me back, and he started me with preliminary discussions with eHealth to look at living labs. And actually, on top of it all, I actually wrote my second book, and actually that just got it's a publisher who's agreed to take it on board in England next year. I've actually just signed the contract, and it'll be out next year. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster time. I just wanted to quickly just go through lessons advice that I would give to people coming onto the course. It'd only take a few minutes. So what I did, as Tom said, it just depends on the person. But for me, it was the opportunity that I was looking for. So I hit the ground running, and I did a lot of background research before I even started. So I was ahead of the posse. Every week I did the section that I needed to do, but I was always looking at the next section to see what I needed out there. And basically, as I said, I put a structure in place. I also looked at the fact that what did I want to get out of this? What was my overall goal? And a financial side, did I just want something that basically, so it depends on what you're actually looking for yourself, your attitude to money. And for me, I wanted to be self-sufficient in my own life and independent, to be able to not be relying on social welfare or anything in the future. Basically, when the quiet times happen, when you're basically struggling after basically finished courses, because it was all very busy for 3 months, and when you're kind of low in your momentum, I actually, with my networks, I actually linked up with a lot of people that are organizations like the Open Doors Initiative, any events that were coming up there, or WeGate is the one that I went for, the Women Entrepreneur one. And basically, you can see other people doing things that kind of can motivate you to keep going, or you'll hear of another course or something like that. So it really makes a huge difference. You need to be able to believe in yourself, and you need to push yourself out there. And it will be beneficial. There are early adopters, and they're extremely important, like Open Doors, or to me, they're literally brilliant. And basically, as I said before, that I tried to set up my own business before, and technologies and funding was a huge problem. So this is my plan this time, was to be self-sufficient, that I did not need to be relying on that. I am aware of the fact that I will need a technologist in the future, but for the moment, I don't need that. I can keep going with what I'm doing. And I suppose my last point is the fact is you're going to meet people who are going to be, you're going to have negative experiences from people sometimes, because people still, their idea and their perception of people with disabilities can be quite negative. I'm now, the fact that I've become an entrepreneur, and the fact that basically that my IP is patent, excuse me, I don't don't take that anymore, because I think myself, I'm a voice, and the book has to stop somewhere. So basically, when people start saying things to me now, I say, that's not acceptable. You know, you can't go on like this anymore. And sometimes I will actually report them to the whoever their senior officer. It's up to them to whatever. But I think the time has come that we need to stop saying, oh, that's just a bad experience, because, you know, that can't go on. We need to move forward from the ways and see the attitude of people with disabilities, that we are basically can become entrepreneurs and successful like other people. And thank you. That's me.
Amazing, Niamh. I mean, the energy that's there, everybody, I think, is well to be seen. And I have no doubt, Niamh, you're going to go from strength to strength, and you're going to become one of the main steadfasts for people with disabilities and self-employment. So thank you so much for that. Lastly, now to follow Niamh, we have Shane Creamer. He's a business advisor from the Tipperary Local Enterprise Office, and he's here to speak about supports for the self-employed. Shane, when you're ready. Shane, you just need to unmute there.
Thanks, Orna. Firstly, I'd just like to say thanks to Niamh for making it virtually impossible to follow her talk. But I wished I was in front of her now, but truly, you know, it's a cliche, but it is, that's inspiring in 12 months, what she's after doing, a second book and having the whole thing with the IP and the whole platform and that. It's an amazing journey that she's after describing there. So look, I suppose this morning, I'd just like to thank Orna and the Open Doors team just for the opportunity to speak on behalf of, I suppose, the local enterprise offices across the country. There's 31 of us, 31 branches across the island of Ireland. And this morning, I'm just going to quickly go through a couple of the bits and pieces and a couple of the supports that the local enterprise office, or LEO, basically offers to small and micro enterprises across the island of Ireland. Okay, so our slogan is that LEO is a one-stop shop for small and micro enterprises. Okay, so basically we provide supports from funding for capital expenditure, for feasibility or for anything like that, but we also provide a range of softer supports for business clients. Okay, and we offer these supports from people that have, we'll say, like Niamh, had a concept for her business, an idea. We take people right through from that, and we deal with people that have been maybe in business for 15 or 20 years, but they're at the stage that their product has been quite successful, or their service has been quite successful, and they're looking at taking it to the next step, the next stage, or they may be looking to develop a new market. And I suppose recently, in the last couple of years, an awful lot of the business environment, and Dennis and the colleagues in AIB would attest to this, it's been a very challenging place for business owners and small businesses over the past number of years. Firstly with Brexit, onset of COVID and all the challenges that provided, and currently with what's going on with the geopolitical issues with the war there in Ukraine. So again, we're just there to support people. It's not just for people that are on the way up. We're trying to help to sustain businesses that have been in business for a long time and may need help and support to adapt to a changing market. Okay, so I suppose our main aims are to drive the development of local enterprises and local entrepreneurship within the micro to small enterprises. We look at anything, we work with Enterprise Ireland, but our main remit is on businesses with up to 10 employees. So that can be a one-man band up to, would say, an engineering company that could have 10 employees. We're there to support that type of business, okay? We're also there to provide our clients with a can-do and a positive outlook on their business, on what their business plans are. We're also there maybe to put a small bit of a check on it, because sometimes aspirations and dreams sometimes take over, and some of the challenges that that a business may face, the actual client may not actually see it, but we're there to advise to try and help avoid mistakes or and work through possible challenges for the client. Our main remit in the local enterprise office is, I suppose, to create jobs and create jobs in our local communities and our local economies. Okay, we all hear of the multinationals or the huge big institutions that have the big, 400 or 500 employees, but they're behind all of these types of huge organizations. You could have tens or 100 small businesses with 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5 employees in them. And when you add them all up, they're just as important to the local economy as any multinational could be, but they just don't get the glossy advertisement on the news on the 6-1. So I suppose we're also there to be proactive and respond to the needs of the business client that's in front of us. Everyone that sits in front of us, we give them a confidential service and we do what we can to provide a support for them. So I suppose quickly, the supports that we have, we do provide grant funding, but our grants are really tight. The remit for the grants are quite tight. We provide grant funding to people within the manufacturing, production or the exporting markets in the main, but we also look at people that are looking at innovation. Innovation kind of supports something like what Niamh was talking about, something that hasn't been done before and can be developed into maybe an IT app or something like that can also be looked at. We provide grants for feasibility studies. So feasibility studies is where you can take your idea. If we all feel that, we'll have a couple of discussions. If we feel that it is a viable idea and there's a possibility that this could make it, we will provide grant funding to help in getting the client to get their product or their service to a market viable product, and then we'll see how to get on from there. We do startup grants, we do business expansion grants, and a whole range of other types of grants as well. The softer supports that I spoke about would be the likes of training. So again, across a wide spectrum of topics covering social media, financial, advertising, marketing, exporting, we will generally try to have a training course that will suit the needs of a cohort of clients. Again, Tom touched on it as part of the course. We see our mentoring, our option of providing mentorship to our business clients as being huge, and the amount of times that people that haven't been eligible for grant support, but we've given them and provided them with mentoring support, have come back to us and said that the mentoring and the expertise of our mentors was actually worth more than any 5,000 or 10,000 grant ever was, because it just gets them a real good focus of their business idea. We've other programs then for established businesses going across exporting, green, lean, digitalization, across a wide variety as well. For any budding food producer that's out there or small food business that's out there, we work with a load of different agencies. We have food starter programs. We work with the likes of Valley and Super Value with their programs for small producers. And again, we have networks within most counties and within most local enterprise offices to other food producers. And it's good to get peer-to-peer advice as well, okay? We do provide, we'll say, information and advice and connections to other supports as well. So again, we work in liaison with the Microfinance Ireland for people that are looking for maybe startup finance for loans from 2,000 up to a maximum of 25,000. We work with the Leader and the county development companies within our areas as well. We may not be able to help you with grant funding, but they might have a scheme that's actually suitable to the business that you're talking about. There's obviously, there's an awful lot of schemes in that the norm, people, the general public don't know about, and that could be Department of Social Protection schemes, like the Back to Work Enterprise grant, the Jobs Plus, if you're thinking of taking on employees. but also within the individual county or city councils, there's actual schemes there for business owners that may be starting a business, taking over premises that has been closed for a while, painting schemes for shop fronts and stuff like that. So we're there to try and provide you with the information that may be relevant to your business. Okay, so look, I'm just very conscious of the time, but just to summarize that, look, I did mention there's 31 branches of local enterprise offices across the country. Okay, we are there and we provide an open and inclusive environment to speak confidentially about an idea, no matter how silly it may.
Oh, I think Shane has just frozen there on us, but I think he had got across his point really that there is a local enterprise office in all of our counties, and they're inclusive and a great place, and support and resources there are amazing. Maybe following the course, the TU course, or if you just think you want to go straight to them. Jess, is there questions at this stage, or are we?
We just had one question in the question box, and I think that person might have actually left the call already, but they were just asking, as a disabled person, people look at them and make fun of them. Why is that? And I think that just is a more general question. And I think Niamh had a very good reply to that in what she was speaking in terms of, these kinds of attitudes we really need to push back against, and everything we're doing in terms of promoting people with disabilities as entrepreneurs to be seen as successful business people within their own right is very important, and hopefully will go towards changing those sorts of attitudes, even though there's a hill to climb there, certainly. So we have to keep going. We'd welcome anyone if they wanted to ask any other questions, but they can also contact us by email afterwards if they have any questions they've thought of specifically. And we can get back to anyone. We'll also do this is being recorded, so we will have the video. If anyone wants to rewatch the session, we'll be sending it out on a YouTube link after the fact, so that if there's anything you wanted to hear again, that will be accessible. So I don't know if there's anybody who's put anything in the chat. And just to mention, Open Doors has an event coming up on the 23rd of this month, which is the launch of our annual report for the last year of our work. So details on that will be announced shortly. It'll be up on the opendoorsinitiative.ie website. So I'll pass it back to you, Orna.
Thanks, Jess. So thanks to all the speakers today, to Tom, to Christina, to Niamh, and to Shane, and to Dennis, of course. And I'm sure you'll agree that they were all brilliant and wonderful, and the advice given today was just amazing. I also want to thank my colleagues, Jessica, obviously, but Claire and Jan as well. I started here in March, and they've held my hand greatly. And I'm just really, delighted to be part of the Open Doors Initiative. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. And I think at this stage, we'll say goodbye.